Everybody, I decided to show you how to do some fun little cool fireworks because if you're in the US, we have a big holiday this weekend, Independence Day, America's birthday, where we have tons of fireworks. And if you're not in the United States, you probably enjoy fireworks for all kinds of other reasons. So this is a good one for family, for children, for adults like moms, dads, grandparents with their kids. All I have is a white crayon. You could also use a little bit of a candlestick for the resist. I've used this so much, I actually used the built-in sharpener that comes with when you get a whole set of them that one of my grandkids has. And I sharpened it and it worked pretty good. I remember as a child, they worked so. It's still a little funny and trying to come off on my fingers, but that's okay, it'll work fine. If you don't have a white crayon, you could use any kind of light color, like a yellow, a light yellow, whatever you have, okay? So I'm gonna start, I folded a piece of construction paper. If you don't have construction paper, this is a sketch pad, heavyweight, multi-purpose, textured art paper. So it's good for lots of things. It's a little thicker. Here's a couple pieces. There you go. It's a little thicker than like a typewriter paper or copy paper, I should say. But it's still not like a watercolor legit paper. I just figured I'd make it easy on us if you don't have a lot of supplies. I'm using a real children's watercolor palette. And just to show you, any watercolor will work. I've got a couple water jars. Just in case one gets dirty, I can double rinse or I can get a lighter color that way. I'm going to use just any old brush. This is one I picked up at a museum at the counter. I could use a real brush, silver black velvet, for those of you that have gotten into watercolor. This is like a legitimate professional level, wonderful brush. I highly recommend it. If you want information about what I recommend for starters, make sure you check out my beginner tutorials, wherever they may be, YouTube, Facebook, and patreon.com/Cindra. I have a try before you buy that lasts just for a few more days. When June is over, that's over. In fact, what I'm going to teach you right now, I did a real starting out beginner level full painting. And I'm just going to show you a basic version of that, kind of appropriate for kids or kids with their parents, or just for fun if you're fairly new with watercolor, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find some light watercolors. You'll notice if you're new that I work the water into the paint, but I don't keep fussing with it over and over. I get that water in, work it in, depending on the style of paints you have. These children's watercolors, and this is a nice set. I think I got it on Amazon one time for one of my grandkids. You have to kind of work it in a little bit more than professional watercolors. But once you have it in, don't keep going back to the water. Just go to town and start painting. Now, the idea of this firework fun little painting, is that we're going to go ahead, and I'm rinsing that one out. We're just going to make big circles and designs. Since my 4-year-old uses this watercolor set, it's not it rinsed well. You know, it has a lot of colors that match the other ones or on top of the other ones. And guess what? It just doesn't matter. If you're picky and you want to clean them off first, that works well too. There's pink. I'm going to do orange. And I'm just doing messy ones. I'm not being picky. If you're a picky person, this is not the painting for you. I think you want to just listen up and just enjoy the concept. Don't be overly just perfectionistic, okay? You don't want to do that with this one. And a lot of times you don't want to do that. There's a time and a place to be really picky with things. And then there's also a time and a place to let your creative, fun energy come out and just paint randomly with abandonment. And I'm at that stage with this painting. If they blur over each other, that's fine. I'm going to get a little bit more purple and work it in. Like I said, if they blur, if they touch, if they move around, it's fine. I might do one more. Let's see. I might do one more yellow. So there you go. I'm going to have that one just laid over all kinds of the areas. You'll see why in a minute. So I have a lot of white space, and that's fine. White space means the paper is coming through. I don't have a perfect circle. That's great. I have blotchiness. That's perfect. I want to encourage you to just have fun with this one, okay? Now, once you have painted, excuse me, once you've painted, it's going to look something like this or like anything else you have. Now you can go ahead and push pause and wait until it dries, or if you have a hair dryer or some way to dry it a little faster, then let's do that together. Otherwise, dry it at your own pace and just come back. Watercolor doesn't take that long to dry, but just in the interest of moving ahead, I'm using an old hair dryer. There we go. Let me tell you what I just was showing you. I didn't want to yell over the hair dryer, although I think my microphone with my little setup just blurs the sound. So maybe you didn't hear the loud noise, which would be good. I kept holding it sideways to see if it still looked wet and shiny. And there were a few places that are only maybe surface dry. You can touch them, but they're barely dry. But I look for the shine. And I first started high up, maybe 2 feet, because I wanted the heat to dry it off, but I didn't want the fan to start moving it all over the place. That's a fun thing to do too sometimes. And then when it got closer to being dry, then I did let the fan come real close, because if it moved it a little bit at that point, that was okay too. Okay, so here's what it looks like. A beautiful piece of art, right? I'm sure you're thinking, what in the world is she doing with that? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to take my white crayon and I'm going to create fireworks. So here we go. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. So I'm just putting fireworks. I'm making like little spider lines. They're hard to see, aren't they? But that's just the deal. You have to kind of remember where you're doing them. And sometimes it's fun to do like little dots, like little periods or semicircles, just little dots, because with fireworks, sometimes they'll have like dot, 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 like they'll have dot, 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 dot. What I was doing is I was doing a broken line. So here's a scratch paper. And I was doing with my white crayon, I was going dot, 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 dot. Other times I was going like this, and then I put little periods along it. And then other times I left it straight. And that's what I did with the white crayon. Now you can't see it real good with the white paper, so you just have to kind of remember what you're doing. Now I'm going to do one over here that's maybe not quite as big. Kind of remind me of spiders. What do you think? So there's 2 fireworks, and I guess I'll do one more maybe from here. And there you go. Now you can make these long or short. I'm going to do some broken ones again, and maybe a couple little dots here and there, just to be cool, because I am so cool. What can I tell you? I am making this very simple for any children that's doing this. This would be a fun project. One time I taught this in a Zoom class, a full out, and I had so many adults that took the class tell me they just loved doing this with their grandkids or children's or nieces or nephews or whatever. Any children they had fun doing it with on the weekend. So maybe you will too. All right, so now I'm going to take my brush. Now that it's dry, I put first any bright circles, like big old balls, all different sizes, here and there, kind of messy. Now I put the white crayons, and that will be a resist. And now I'm going to do the sky. I'm going to go to black, but you could mix it. I could mix blue and black together. That'd be pretty. If you're somebody who paints with watercolor, you could actually use indigo. Wouldn't that be pretty? But I'm just going to do the black sky, and I'm going straight across. And some of my sky will be a little darker or a little just thinner paint or darker paint. And that's fine, because that's how skies are, right? Look at what's happening though as I paint. Do you see all these lines showing up? What were they? White crayon, right? Now I'm using a brush that's picking up some of my little crayon. Do you see it on the brush? There. And that's fine too. I'll just rinse it real good when I'm done. That's probably because I just sharpened it. So I'm just making fireworks. And if I wanted to use a bigger brush, I could just do it all over it. Flop, 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 right? But I'm good with what I'm doing. I'm in no rush. I'm just having fun. I'm just keeping this paint coming. And whenever my little puddle in the paint starts wearing out, I just add more water. This is like a big old wash of color. And this is the dark sky. And as we go, we see the fireworks come out. And they're pretty cool, right? Now you're also maybe going to see some of the colors that are still underneath the circles. And that's fine too. And if you don't want to see those circles, you want it really to look like night, then what I would do, I might try blue. Then I would do another layer of color that might help blend that out a little bit more. Although they kind of look cool, it kind of looks, if you've ever been at a big fireworks display, a lot of times you'll see almost a halo of light around the colors. And that kind of looks cool too. So I'm going to finish my blue all the way down. I'm trying to do it like a sky where it's smooth back and forth. And if I want to do one more layer and make it even darker, I may. Remember, I'm using children's paint. If I were using something like Daniel Smith, I'm going to do one more layer right here, at least at the top, just to see what that does. If I was using something like Daniel Smith, it would cover it even darker. But I think I'll just leave it the darkest at the top and then come down a little lighter. So what do you think? Isn't that kind of a cool little thing? Cool little trick? I'm coming all the way down. You know, it's fun to do little secret message or magical marks with crayons. And you can always do all these fun little things that if you write a special little note to somebody, then you can go ahead and say it's an invisible note because you wrote it in crayon, and then paint it and you'll see what my message is for you. So that's kind of fun. Keep that in mind too. But there you go. Now, if you are an adult and helping your kids do this fun little display, I'd like to encourage you to go to my Patreon. I have levels for each level of painting experience you have. So if you're a beginner, or you're somebody that used to paint but you're rusty, or you're somebody that kind of self-taught and you'd like to go back to basics, my starting out tier of sponsoring me, of being a patron of mine. The idea of Patreon is you support me in my art, and depending on the level of support is my thank you in return. So the patron support of starting out, which is the basics, is $8 a month. I said it right, $8. In American dollars, so wherever you are, I'm sure it would show up for you. They're all taped. You can do them at your leisure. There's never any commercials with them. And to make it even nicer, you have a full 7 days from the time you sign up with your credit card before that credit card is run through. So you could use a debit card, you could use your Venmo card, you could use whatever you have, and you sign up for Patreon, start with the starting out $8 level. Then you have 7 days to try it. And if you want, write it on your calendar. Cancel by whatever date you're starting. You have 7 days, and on the 8th day, you will be charged. And then starting on that 8th day of your charge, you have 30 days before the next one goes through. But I'm going to tell you, I keep adding at least for a month. So you might want to stay and just keep on painting with me. I teach a variety of ways of painting. So this was my easy, good for families, good for kids version. And here's the version I taught for my Patreon students in the starting out. As you can see, the fireworks are really dramatic. We have a little city behind it. We have some trees behind it. We have reflections of the colors in the water. So it's a beautiful one. And again, it's free for the first 7 days. Learn what you want, enjoy it. And if you say it's not for you, just simply cancel before the week is up. And there will never be a charge. Now, starting in July, that's over. You can still join, but you just don't get the try before you buy. I hope this was fun for you. And I hope you enjoy the idea of using white crayons or a candle to hide, to resist, to block out either your paper, plain paper, or the colors that you first painted before you paint the next area. It's just another fun thing you can do with watercolor. There's so many things. Happy 4th, everybody. Happy life. God bless you. Till next time.